spare the rod and spoil the child isn't a phrase that picks up much support these days. But when you're dealing with a group of very active and sometimes hyperactive young boys, boys who've been branded as troublemakers in the normal school system, there is a case to be made out for some good old-fashioned discipline. In the case of Frank Dando, if he weren't a teacher, he'd probably make a good regimental sergeant major. That should give you an idea of what goes on at his Ashwood Boys' School in Melbourne.
OK, Paul, can I have a look at yours?
A normal day at a typical Australian school.
Well,
that's what you'd think. But this is Frank Dando's school, where most lessons are anything but typical. In fact, at Frank Dando's school, sport is the backbone of his whole teaching philosophy. They all seem such angels.
Angels, eh? Well, they're not angels, I can assure you of that. I had one of those angels you're describing selling detonators last year.
Selling detonators?
Yes, he found some detonators and decided to capitalise on it by selling them. It's not too angelic. That's not the idea at all. The idea is to pull them into you as close as you can get, eh? If you can pull someone in, you can control him. Doesn't matter which way you go. I pull him in that way. Right, I can throw him easily that way.
This is all in a morning's work for Dando's inmates.
In there like that. If I'm going the other way, like that, same thing.
An hour of judo every day is how Frank Dando deals with his uncontrollables. And there's no room for wimps here.
Ross, what the hell are you doing now? You still haven't started. Right, stop. Look, a waste of time. You've got 10 minutes, all of you. Get your boots on and get down to the corner and back. Don't bother changing. Don't bother changing. Just get your shoes on and go. Now, wake up. I'm taking bright kids who are doing badly at school and trying to do a quick repair job on them.
And this is part of that repair job, getting the boys back on their own 2 feet and giving them a new sense of direction.
If a child can't pin his self-image on something positive, such as being able to swim 60 laps and run and play sport efficiently, he'll pin on something negative, like his ability to smash windows or spray paint railway carriages or rip up seats. No wonder you sent for a run. Now, you're not much better now. Do you want to go for another run? Well... The boy can't read very well, and he's in Year 7, and he's got a reading age, say, of a boy in grade 3, and he's being asked to read Year 7 material. What's he going to do in class? I'll give you one guess. He's going to make a real bloody pest of himself, and good luck to him. What else? What would you do? You better snap it up, man. I'm starting to think that you'd do better running. You were last time.
The school is literally this room. These 4 walls are their playground, their gym, and their classroom. Do you care if the kids like you or not?
No, of course not.
You don't?
No. Get your book out and get going quick before I change my mind and start getting nasty. Hurry up. If I start worrying about who likes me and who doesn't, the chances are I'll do a very bad job. I must do what's fair. I must be completely fair, but that's where it stops. John, you've got 8 minutes, mate, to get down to that corner and back. 8. Move, it'll be 7. Get
fair, but always firm. At Ashwood, no one is ever allowed to slack off.
You're the last bloke on the mat before. You look like being the last fella off. If a boy has done very badly academically for 2 or 3 years, he tends to see himself pretty negatively. And it's not really much good when we get him here trying to quickly build up his academic standards. What you've got to do is lift his self-image, make him feel better about himself.
John Clift is a new boy. He may not be very familiar with the system at the moment, but he's learning fast.
You'd be more comfortable down the back standing up. You're not paying attention. Go on. You stand up down there and listen.
10-year-old Dion Miller, however, is an old pro. He's been to 5 schools in the last 5 years. It's a lot of schools for a 10-year-old. Were you expelled from the other schools?
I wasn't expelled, I was suspended a couple of times, and other times my mum just took me out because I was causing too much trouble.
Because you're causing too much trouble?
Yeah.
You're a real little monster, huh?
Yeah.
This is my talkative old mate. And it's reasonably neat, but there's not enough of it. How about you get your ears back and really work hard for the rest of the session? Dion, I was told that his behaviour had resulted in a meeting of the local region of the Victorian Teachers Union. And at that meeting, they had decided that no one was to be forced to teach Dion. Dion's about this high, you know. I looked at him and I expected to see someone looking like King Kong. Dion is a pussycat. But I must say that he's a very satisfying little fellow to teach because he's bright.
All right. What's XXX stand for?
It couldn't be more basic.
Right, fair enough. You're not asleep after all. 30.
Phys ed, reading, writing and arithmetic.
What's the square root of 16, Ross?
Nothing else, same time, every school day of the year. And there are no breaks, not even for meals.
Goggles? What are you doing?
If you think he's a tough judo teacher, he's a real tyrant when drilling the 3 R's.
Right, well, you may get your reading book, Goggles, from your bag, but it'll cost you a sum to get it. Quick.
Everybody on that side, get the chairs out.
Jason Munro is proof that Dando's methods pay off. 3 years ago, he was failing everything. Today, he's Ashwood's school captain, and his mother couldn't be more delighted. Where do you think Jason might be today if it hadn't been for Ashwood?
Oh, a dropout. He'd be, I believe he would probably be wagging school because he wouldn't have been able to do the work, so he wouldn't have wanted to go. So he would do the normal things that those children do, and they only do it because they can't cope.
Ross Diggins was more than a dropout. He was being thrown out for kicking in classroom doors.
How much you spent on the stamps, right?
He apparently booted the door and then yelled, I'll learn a bloody lot out here, won't I? He referred to himself as being stupid and the dumbest boy in the class, I think were the words he used to use. And we were there constantly trying to build him up again, but it just wasn't working.
And what about today?
Well, he's a different boy, entirely.
A different boy entirely. And it's no wonder. Particularly when part of lunch every day is a bus trip to the park for a compulsory kilometre run. One of Frank Dando's secret weapons is to watch his boys like a hawk.
Go on, John.
And come down on them the moment they start to get out of hand. Frank is teacher, coach, even doctor.
Come on, slap it on, quick. Look, just a jog, OK? Just jog, mate.
If you don't watch them like a hawk, you're likely to get some unpleasant surprises. If a child's having problems at school, social problems, they'll show up at lunchtime when the boys are in the schoolyard. Now, we don't have lunchtimes.
After their run, they have an hour in the pool. The Dando method is to drive these boys like they've never been driven before, to push them to their limits.
Go on, Mark, hop into it, mate.
For overweight boys like John, who could barely float when he arrived at Ashwood, today's swim is something special. John has smashed his own lap record. You broke your record?
Yeah.
How many laps? More than a kilometre in his lunch hour.
We get boys who are overweight. Most boys are difficult if they're not succeeding. As soon as you give them something they can do, they're all right. I mean, that's the best disciplinary tool of a lot, is simply to assess a boy's ability and make sure that you're not giving him something that the poor cow finds impossible to do, and then build him up from there. That's the best disciplinary tool, and most boys will respond to it.
The discipline may be harsh, but the look on these young faces says it all. For $3,000 a year, Ashwood parents say the school is worth every cent.
This school, to me, represents a return to traditional values and traditional methods of teaching. And I think, you know, the proof of the pudding's in the eating. Ross is the living example that it works.
You know what the rules are, you do what you're told.
Where do you think some of your boys would be if they weren't here?
Some of them would certainly be in institutions, others would probably be taught at home.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's a pity, isn't it?
I've got a surprise for you, mate. I'll be here Monday. You've got, from my account, about 10 of those long multiplication sums to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think.
Monday morning I'll be asking for them. Have a good weekend.